Hello and welcome to C-Suite Secrets. I'm Heather Parsons, your host. I'm a serial entrepreneur, fractional CFO, and a business value strategist. I've spent years juggling business and family life while helping entrepreneurs scale, optimize cash flow, and build real financial success in your business. On our show, we bring you real conversations with executives, founders, and operators about what actually moves the needle in your business. No fluff, no filler, just smart strategy, systems that work, and insights that you can put to use in your business right away. With that, let's dive right in. Today, we have Tom Shapiro on the show. Tom, welcome.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation today. So for folks who may not be familiar with you, I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about your story and how you became an entrepreneur.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the CEO of a company called Stratabeat, which is an organic growth agency for B2B technology and software companies. So we provide services like search engine optimization or GEO, AEO, content development, content strategy, Reddit marketing, web design, data intelligence, things like that. So it's all organic marketing. And really, it's all geared towards driving leads for clients. So my story is kind of a winding road in that I started in Japan, actually. So my first job was at Panasonic, right out of college in Japan, in Tokyo. And I wound up working there for 4 years and then came back here, wound up working at a software localization company for a while, grew that company by 250%, then jumped to another software localization company and grew them, I think it was like 300%. And then I joined a marketing agency and their revenue had plateaued when I walked in the door. They were flat. But we shuffled things around. We changed the strategies and we went from $12 million in annual revenue to $75 million in 5 years. So, wow. And then I started Stratabeat. So that's my quick story.
That's a hell of a story, and a lot of business growth going on in there as well. So as you think about how you were able to grow those businesses and then moving out to start your own business, was there a central theme that really drove that growth?
Yeah, so it's interesting. My second day on the job at the agency that I was at before starting Stratabeat, so the company was called iProspect, the CEO took me and several others into a conference room. And remember, this was my second day on the job. I didn't know what was going on. And he looked at everyone, took us all into a conference room, and he locked the door. And he turned to us and he said, "No one is leaving this room until we fix this." And I had no idea what they were talking about. And so I said, "Well, what do you mean fix this? Fix what?" And so he explained that sales were going down for the entire year, that their lunch was being eaten by their main competitor, iCrossing, and so we were not going to be out. We were not going to be allowed to leave the conference room until we figured out a way to win. And so my first questions to the group, because I was brand new, I didn't know anything about the company, I didn't know anything about the way they did sales, I didn't know anything. And so I just started asking a lot of questions. And my first questions were all around, well, when we meet with a prospect, what percentage of the time are we talking and what percentage of the time are they talking? And they said, we have to tell them about our technology and our methodology and our team and how great we are and blah, 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 blah. So we're talking like 85% of the time. And I said, okay, and how about proposals? Like in a proposal to a client, like what percentage is talking about us versus talking about them? And they said, well, the proposal is all about how we're going to do it. So, it's like 90% us. And so I said, well, that's why you're not making any sales. It has to be the majority focused on the audience, focused on the customer. And that has been the through line in my entire career.
I love that, and I think that's so important, especially as a B2B company and as somebody who is sold to all day, every day, right? Because everybody's looking for you to be their customer or they have the next greatest widget. I love focusing on the client first because really and truly what we're trying to do, and I focus on this in my business, we're trying to solve their problem, whether it's around
Yes.
finances or marketing and SEO or whatever it is. Our real goal is to solve their business problem.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's always stunned me when businesses want to talk about their own solutions. And, I remember the CEO at iProspect coming up to me after I started closing business. And he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I heard you're not even talking about our technology during the discussions with prospects." And I said, "That's true. I don't. I'm dissecting their problems. That's what we spend the entire time on. We never talk about our own agency. We talk about their problems and ways to fix their problems. And then I ask if they'd like a follow-up call, if they want to bring anyone else into the discussion, or if they just want to sign a contract and, let's fix their problems." And, it was a bit of a culture shock for them, but they bought into it very quickly. And, that's how we went from 12 million a year in annual revenue to 75 million so quickly. And that's what we're trying to teach all of our customers now is it's all about the audience, and you want to go as deeply as possible into understanding them. Go as deeply as possible into audience understanding, audience research, audience insights, and that solves 99% of your marketing problems.
I like that. So as I hear you talking about it, I think about how companies pick their niche and who they're going to work with and all of the things. How important is that on getting specific like you're talking about?
It's very important. So I was at one company where we literally fired 50% of our clients in one day because we redefined our ICP. And we were serious about it. We were going to target. We were going to go narrow. And that meant getting rid of 50% of the customers. From that point onwards, within 2 years, we grew by 250%.
Wow.
That is how you grow, is you narrow your focus, you identify who you're best fit for, who you can really solve their problems very effectively, very substantially, and then you focus on that.
I love it. And talking about how we do sales, I think is really important. But, you work with companies doing hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. What
Yes.
is their marketing team still getting wrong?
Oh, so I would say one of the biggest things is there's no cohesiveness to the marketing. Many companies still do marketing in a piecemeal kind of way. So they have someone doing email, and they have someone doing social media, and they have someone doing the website, and they have someone doing events. And it's, everyone can be very good at their job. They can be very smart people, but there's no central theme tying everything together to make it all galvanized, to make it all more impactful, right? And to get better ROI out of every single thing that you do. And so I would say, that is probably the number one biggest challenge that we do see with companies today.
That's really interesting. I've been talking to a lot of people about brand and really building your brand, and it seems to me that those would just kind of flow downhill. But I can see your point as to where they can lose the cohesiveness or really kind of get off message or off theme more than off message.
You're right, off theme, because their product has a new feature and they get all excited and that's what they want to focus on. Or they think possibly, maybe, kind of, sort of, maybe we should test out this other audience, right? And there's all this eagerness to try something new, talk about something new, talk about something different, keep adding. It's very additive, right? They always want to be adding. But the way that you win is you go deep. It's not by going broad. The deeper you go, the easier it is to win, right? Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And when you go broad, you weaken your marketing. You dilute it. And, when you go deep, think about it. Like, every case study compounds upon the other case studies that you have, because they're all reinforcing that you're the perfect fit for that particular case, that particular use case, or that particular audience. And when you start broadening your focus, all of a sudden you're not compounding anymore. It's all one-offs. And the more one-offs you have, they just kind of are dangling out there. And then all of a sudden you have like 12 different things dangling out there, and none of it is reinforcing making the next sale.
That makes a lot of sense. And I can see where that would get really confusing, because your buyer doesn't know if you're the true right fit for them.
Right. Yeah. You want to make the buying process, including all the marketing that you do, right? You want to make it easy for them. You want to give them the easy button and just make it easy to understand who you are, what you do, who you serve, what's your positioning, like how are you different from anyone else in the market, right? I remember talking with a company. They're a $400 million a year company in the restaurant technology space. So they're big, right? $400 million a year, they're big. And I asked on one of the initial calls, I said, I've been through your website over and over again. I have memorized parts of your website, and I still can't figure out your differentiation. Can you just explain it to me? And there was silence, and then more silence. And we had like 8 people on the call, 8 people from their side, right?
Wow.
And after some awkward silence, finally someone spoke up and said, well, we've been around the longest. That is not how you win business.
No, that's like saying this is the way we've always done it.
Right.
And if there's one thing that's consistent in business, that's change. So yeah, that can definitely be problematic for sure.
Yeah.
When we first got on, you were talking a little bit about SEO and GEO, and I'd love your thoughts. Is Google search dying as AI gets more popular?
No, it's not dying at all. In fact, it's growing. And I can walk you through the numbers. So certainly winning in the LLMs like Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, Copilot, it's all very, very important. And it's gaining in importance every month, right? Leads from the LLMs are Stratabeat's #1 lead source, right? #1. So it's very, very important. But to say that Google and traditional SEO is dead is completely misunderstanding the situation, because what's actually happening is people are using both in a very complementary way. They might be in ChatGPT, they go to Google, they go back to ChatGPT, they go to Google. Check your own website analytics, and I guarantee you, I absolutely 100% guarantee you that Google is going to be the source of what? 40, 50, 60% of your traffic, and the LLMs are going to be the source of maybe 1 or 2%, maybe 3% of your traffic. Google is very much alive. It's very much important, but it is evolving, and you have to know how to win in Google today and how to integrate your SEO and your GEO efforts. So looking at how you're going to win in traditional SEO, how you're going to win in the LLMs and AI search in a very integrated way.
I like that, because I think about as I search, right? So I'm in the process right now of an acquisition, and I need a new piece of software. So the first thing I do is go to one of the LLMs. I'm a big Claude fan, and I use ChatGPT as well, but I want it to tell me what it knows already. And that just kind of kicks off my search. And then I go to Google to see how bad people are talking about them, right? I want to know which ones are really difficult to work with, because I've been around software sales for a long time, and it's very much like what you're talking about. 75, 80% of the call is telling you how great they are, and then maybe listening to a little bit of your problem. So I love what you're saying, and how thinking about how people are going about it. I do believe that SEO is still around, and that Google search isn't going anywhere, because it's just what we're used to until there becomes a new search engine. I don't know how we would replace it. But I would love to talk a little bit about the importance of your business being found in those places, like in ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini.
Yeah, it's very important. Like I said, being found in ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Copilot, that is the number one source of leads for us this year. And to kind of indicate to you the impact that that's been. So we have already booked 2.3 times the revenue that we made all of last year, all of
Wow.
last year. And we're only at the midpoint of the year. So it has been transformative. We are closing many more deals. We're closing bigger deals, more important deals. And the LLMs have been a nice ingredient in baking that cake.
That's great. So whenever I think about those differently, right? So I know ranking on Google is a lot about reviews and what other people are saying. How should you write to have AI find you on both your website and other places on social and on the internet?
Yeah, so if you want to be found in ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, one of the easiest things that you can do, one of the most immediate things that you can do is structure the content in your website. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you have a blog post, let's say you have an article, put a summary at the top, put key takeaways at the top, have your headings in a logical order. So what I mean by that is you have your H2 and then an H3 and then an H4. Then maybe another H2, some H3s, and an H4. Another H2, H3. So in other words, you don't want to jumble it up, which we see a lot of companies do. You also want to put things into bullet lists. You want to put them into tables. You want a table of contents. You want FAQs. Whatever you can do to structure your copy, your content, makes it easier for the LLMs to extract it. We've had a lot of success with this. So over 60% of our clients are the number one most visible in the LLMs in their category for non-branded queries. So non-branded meaning, the person writing the inquiry or writing the query doesn't know the brand, right? They're just typing something in generically, like, hey, what's the best CRM software for a manufacturing company, right? Something like
Yep.
that. And so, content structuring is probably number one on the list. And then number two, I was mentioning FAQs. You should be putting FAQs at the bottom of as many pages in your website and at the bottom of as many blog posts in your website as possible. FAQs are conversational language, right? So you can have a conversational query, a question, right? And then you have an answer. Well, that's exactly what the LLMs do, right? There's a query, you type something in, or your user, your customer types something in, and they get an answer. So you want to mimic the language that's in the LLMs by asking questions and then answering them. You can do this in other ways as well, like your H2s, your H2 headings in your content. Instead of just having statements or sentence fragments, or even just 2 or 3 words, what you can do instead is ask questions. So if your H2s are asking questions, it lends itself to the LLM recognizing a match and then extracting it for its response to the user. And then other things that you can do on your website to help you gain more visibility in the LLMs would be things like making sure that your site is very fast loading, right? You want the pages to load lightning fast. You want your code to be very clean. You want it to be very easy for the bots from the LLMs. Just come, crawl your site, understand exactly how to navigate around, understand your taxonomy very cleanly. And so their crawl budget is very efficient and they can find what they're looking for very easily. And then you had mentioned, offsite. There's so many things that can be done off of your website as well to help you gain visibility as well.
That's great. And I find that really, really interesting. So you also mentioned getting the majority of your revenue from LLMs.
Yes.
How important is it to be asking your leads and clients, how did you hear about us? Or is there something else that business owners should be tracking and looking at from a CRM perspective?
Yeah, so it is very important somehow, some way to ask prospects when they become a lead, how they found out about you. So what we do is in our book a strategy call form on our website, we ask how they found out about us. And there's a drop-down list. One of the options is AI search. So you also offer a Google search, right? You also offer, maybe they heard about you at an event or they heard about you on LinkedIn, right? So you give them different options and you have them self-report how they found you, because the buyer's journey today is so messy. It is so chaotic. They are looking at many, many different sources, probably 12 or 15 or 20 different sources before they ever talk to you, right? And so it's important to have them self-identify how they found out about you, because it's not a straight line. And it's not just last click attribution. That's just not accurate at all anymore. Gartner has found that 70% of the B2B buyer journey is complete before they ever talk to a salesperson.
I believe that. I think that as we become more and more sophisticated as buyers, I think about buying a new car and all of those things. I already know the one I want before I ever step in the lot.
Yep.
At that point, I'm just focused on price and, a couple other attributes. Can I get the leather with the moonroof, or what are some of the options? And I think that really transfers into how we run our business as well, because I don't want the salesperson coming up and trying to talk me into something that I already know I don't want.
Yes. Yeah.
Just because it makes their life easier.
Yeah.
And I think, especially as marketing is evolving and changing with the addition of AI, a lot of business owners are very confused, especially when companies are telling them they can get them in ChatGPT, they can make them found, they can do all of this. What are some red flags that business owners need to be looking for as they start talking to these agencies?
Sure. The biggest red flag is any type of guarantee. No agency can guarantee you results in the LLMs. None, zero. And so if any agency, quote unquote, guarantees results, run fast. Don't give them any money because they're lying, and you don't want to work with a company that lies. So ask for tangible results of actual companies and have them name the company, not just like, oh, we worked with, this type of company, but no. What's the name of the company? Show me the website, right? Show me specific examples of pages that you optimized for the LLMs and show me why it's so well optimized, right? And show me stats of how visible they are in the LLMs. Make them prove it to you through actual results as opposed to just promising things. Or maybe you have a very charismatic salesperson and so they make it sound wonderful, but it's all fluff, right? Instead, cut through all that and just ask for, show me the case studies. Just show me the case studies, actual business names, so that I can do my own research on them as well. But show me which pages you've optimized, why it's so well optimized. Point to me what you did specifically. And I want statistical results, not, we did really well for them or they grew a lot. No. Numbers. What percentage did they grow, right? How far are they ahead of the competition, right? Because you might say, oh, yeah, we helped them gain, let's say 40% visibility in the LLMs for the set of non-branded prompts that we're tracking for them. Isn't that great? And the first question is, well, what about the competition? Right? Are they at 40% or are they at 50% or are they at 10%, right? Because that tells the story. That tells the story is what's the delta between them and their competition? Did you help them leapfrog over any competitors? Show me the data, just prove it to me, right? And, any company that can't go that granular with their answers, I'm sorry, they don't know what they're doing. They don't. They might be very nice people, but they don't know what they're doing. Because if you know what you're doing, you have all of that data in your pocket at all times.
Absolutely. And you brought up a really good point there around metrics. Mm-hmm. So what is one metric when it comes to marketing or looking at some of this data that sounds really impressive, but that doesn't actually mean anything?
Impressions.
I love it.
Impressions mean nothing, but it means absolutely nothing. I'm always stunned when I see companies with case studies of how they increased impressions. And all I want to ask is, yeah, but what about leads? Did you increase their leads? They're qualified leads. They're qualified sales leads, right? Did you increase them? And if so, by how much? By what percentage? The other thing is sales pipeline. Did you influence sales pipeline? If so, by how much? The bottom line is there are a lot of leading metrics that are fantastic and very useful, like did you increase their top 3 rankings in Google? Or did you increase their brand visibility in ChatGPT or in Claude? Those things are really, really useful as leading indicators. But the bottom line is, did you get them more leads? Are their leads increasing? Because at the end of the day, it's the only thing that matters, right? And so that's really important, is to focus on leads, which has a very direct impact on sales. And the reason why I would say leads is even more important than sales pipeline is because as a marketing agency, or if you're a marketer, right, you have control over driving leads. You do not have control over driving pipeline. The salespeople have a lot of control over that. They're the ones having the direct conversation, right? And so that's why I think that qualified leads is really, if you're a marketer and, or if you're evaluating marketers, right? The thing that you want to judge them on is leads.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, that's why we're doing this, right? So that's the desired outcome, is to bring in more leads and get more revenue. We're not running a soup kitchen. So at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. That's how we keep the lights on and pay our people.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
as businesses are starting to work with marketing organizations, what's a reasonable amount of time for them to work with somebody before they're able to really see progress?
Yeah. So it depends what type of marketing you do, right? So if you hire someone for marketing and they're doing advertising, you should expect results very rapidly, right? Within a week even, right? Because you put $1 in and you can get a lead out of the gumball machine, right? It's pretty immediate. And if it's working, it's immediately understood. And if it's not working, it's immediately understood. So you can keep adjusting and adjusting and optimizing and optimizing. On the organic side, so the types of marketing that we do, where we're optimizing your website, or we're helping you gain visibility inside of the LLMs, or we're helping you with conversion rate optimization, things like that. And even things like content strategy or Reddit marketing, all of these organic types of marketing, it takes time. I would say give it a minimum of 3 months before you even, really start looking at the results. 3 months. And then you should start seeing results after 3 months. By month 6, you will have a very, very clear understanding if things are going in the right direction, if the program is working, and if you're seeing more leads, certainly.
That's some great advice. And you brought up something there that I also want to dive a little bit deeper on, is Reddit marketing. It's not something that necessarily comes to top of mind whenever I think about marketing. I know there's a lot that goes on in Google and Meta and LinkedIn and all the things. Tell me a little bit more about Reddit and why it matters.
Yeah, so Reddit matters more than most companies realize. One, it's the only place really where your customers, your audience is just having conversations, honest conversations. And you can listen in, you can join in the conversation. It's the only place. And they will talk very, very openly about products that they're using, solutions, companies that they work with, right? And you get a lot of very, very raw, honest opinions. And so it's a really good forum. You should be part of the conversation. Now, if you do, you have to be very transparent, very honest, which company you come from, right? And so if they're talking about your company and you join the conversation, make it very clear that you're from the company. That's what you should do. And don't lie, don't exaggerate, just tell them the truth. And here's the filter. Everything that you post should just be in the filter of, am I helping them? Is this helpful? If it is, post it. And if it's not, stop and delete it. Just don't post anything that's not helpful. You do not want to promote yourself. You do not want to try and be salesy. just be helpful. Just try and help people. Another reason why Reddit is so important is in the LLMs, right? If you want to appear more often, if you want to be cited more in ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot, right? A key is that Reddit is one of the most cited sources for the LLMs, especially ChatGPT. So, your domain is definitely the most important, meaning your website. Your website is the most important for gaining citations. We help clients, right, try and be the number one most cited in their category, and that's what you should do. Your website can be the most cited. Don't believe the people who tell you that you have to go to Reddit or a customer review site or a publication in your industry. That's not true. Actually, if you look at the data, citations are wildly fragmented. Wildly. There is no one dominant domain in any category. So what you'll find is if you are tracking, let's say, a set of 100 non-branded prompts in a month, what you'll find is that typically there are hundreds and hundreds, if not 1,000 domains, which are going to be cited during that time in the 1 month. And then there will be thousands and thousands of unique URLs. So in other words, each website might have multiple pages that are being cited. A website can have 30 different pages or 40 different pages that are cited if they're really good at this, right? And so everything is so wildly fragmented. If someone tells you, oh, Reddit, you have to be in Reddit, that's not true. Here's where Reddit is very valuable is, okay, it's one of the most cited usually, but you have to check for your own brand, for your own set of prompts, right? That topical area. So it's not true for everyone. It's not true for some brands. For some of our customers, Reddit is not even on the radar. It is never cited, right? So you have to check the data. For others, it is a very significant domain in terms of citations. So, okay, but here's the thing. Let's say that you get involved in Reddit and ChatGPT or another LLM is citing Reddit and it's citing that thread that you're in, right? Well, one, where is your brand mentioned? Like, is it something where you have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll? Because probably no one's really going to see that. No one's going to see your brand, right? Are they saying negative things about your brand? Well, that wouldn't be good, right? That would be horrible. Or it could just be a nasty fight that's going on, and your brand is not mentioned, but still, like, would you want to be associated with that? So there are a lot of considerations with Reddit where it's not always great to be in a cited thread in Reddit. It's just, sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. Whereas if it's your domain, it's your website, it's always great. It's always great. Right? And so also, the other value of Reddit, besides being highly cited in the LLMs, is on the SEO side. So for many, many, many non-branded keywords, you type it into Google and Reddit does appear in Google page 1. Sometimes it might have 3 different threads listed in Google page 1. So for the keywords that you care about, if that's the case, you should check out those threads, see if it makes sense for you to join the conversation. Again, very transparently, let everyone know who you are, and just try and be helpful. But if Reddit is on Google page 1 so often for your keywords, it only makes sense for you to get active in Reddit.
That's very interesting, and I know a lot of, in my business in particular, I hadn't really thought about Reddit until we had a conversation. So I think that's some great insight and something to think about because as an entrepreneur and a business owner, the real goal is to be helpful, yes. Right? We're not just here to get money from other people. It's a trade. So I love what you're talking about there. And I'd love to know your perspective on, as these businesses are trying to figure out their problems and they're thinking about marketing, what should every business between $2 and $10 million understand about marketing before they hire somebody to do it for them?
Yeah, so before you hire someone to do marketing for you, understand your goals. What does your business need to look like 12 months from now? What does your business need to look like 24 months from now? Then everything should be reverse engineering from there. You don't want to call someone up and say, oh, hey, I want email marketing. or call someone up and say, hey, I want a website redesign. Like, figure out your goals. That's what you should be focused on. What you want is maybe, to double the business, but you also want to break into different geographical markets within 12 months, right? And you need a certain level of profitability. In order to do that, you need this number of leads. Like, maybe you're only getting 30 leads a month today, but you really need 50 leads a month. Or it might be, we have some clients with very high ticket items where, when we started with them, they were literally only getting 5 leads a month. And now, we've quadrupled that for them. Well, when one customer equals over $1 million in revenue per year for a client, then that's good leads growth. But you have to identify that up front. You can't just talk to a marketer who you're interviewing, right? Who you may hire. And they ask you, what are your marketing goals? You can't say, oh, I want more leads, or, oh, I want more revenue. Well, what do you mean? Do you mean like one more lead? Do you mean 1% more leads? Or do you mean doubling? Do you mean tripling? Like, what do you mean? It's so vague. It's not actionable. And so before you hire someone, when you're talking with them, clarify for them, make it easier for the marketer to help you by making it very, very clear where your business needs to be in a few years. And then let's see if they can help you get there. And sometimes they might be wonderful people with wonderful services, but it's not the right fit for where you want to go.
That's a great point. I think the more that you can begin with the end in mind, it's easier to stay on the path. And that way, are we getting closer to the goal or are we wasting money? And nobody wants to be doing that. So, Tom, I have loved our conversation today. I think it's been great. One question I have for you before we wrap up, I would love to know, what's one secret that you wish you would have known starting out as an entrepreneur?
Oh, so I know that one very well. I would have delegated and built a team much earlier. So the first 2 years of the business, it was just me with my laptop and a cell phone at my dining room table. Like, that was the first 2 years of the business. And I really wish that I had focused on building standard operating procedures, so SOPs and templates, and really tried to templatize the business a little bit more so that it would be easier to delegate to others, to train them and to delegate to them. And it took me too long to realize that. That was a big mistake that I made in the early years. And now I try and delegate as much as possible. Like, the first gut feeling that I have is, do I need to be doing this? Am I the right person for this? Or should this be someone else in the company? And so the earlier you get into that mindset, the faster you'll grow.
I love it. And I could not agree more. I truly believe that entrepreneurship is a team sport. Hire people to help you and surround yourself with people who are really good at what you're not.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Well, thank you so much. Before we wrap up, where can our listeners find you and learn more about what you're working on?
Yeah, sure. You can go to our website, stratabeat.com, or you can go to LinkedIn. I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn every day. And if you send me a message, I'll be happy to reply. Just reference this podcast, and I'll get back to you right away. Those are probably the two best places to reach me, is the website and LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again. And thank you to everybody for listening to C-Suite Secrets today. If you have found today's conversation as valuable as I have, be sure to hit that like and follow button. But most importantly, share this episode with somebody who's building a business. And if you're at the point in your business where you're working hard and your business is growing, but you're not keeping as much cash in your pocket as you should every month, or your numbers feel like a mystery, that's exactly why we created our One Room experience. In One Room, you get your very own banker and CFO in your business to help you simplify your numbers, understand what's actually driving profit, and start making decisions like a financially minded CEO. If you want more in between episodes, join us on Facebook at C-Suite Insiders Group, or come find me on Instagram at Heather Parsons Official. Until next time, keep growing, and remember, you don't have to do this alone.